another Cabal outpost right near the gate. Let's hope this key works.
Ever since its initial gameplay reveal at E3 2013, people were left wondering what Destiny was exactly about, while developer Bungie also seemed to have a hard time explaining what kind of game Destiny actually was. And that's probably because, well, Destiny is in fact really hard to explain. If you go into Destiny expecting any kind of genre-specific elements, chances are high that you will be left disappointed. But if you take the time to understand Destiny, you'll be in for a treat. As soon as you set foot into the world of Destiny, you notice that the game looks amazing. While character animations are rather wonky, the environments and character models look great and perfectly demonstrate what the next generation of consoles is capable of. Furthermore, for large areas in the game, Earth, Moon, Venus and Mars each have their own personality, sometimes pulling inspiration from various locations on Earth, while still making them feel fresh and outlandish. All those strange changes to our solar system's planets are explained through a nicely crafted lore that really helps to create an immersive world and gives it a sense of mystery. I just wish that sad lore would have been backed up by a better story that actually meant something and wasn't just there to serve as an explanation for why the player is flying from one planet to another. The sound effects, on the other hand, are great, which makes the guns feel even stronger, and I even found Peter Dinklage's often criticized performance as the icon-picking Ghost to be enjoyable. The rest of the game sounds great too, and the soundtrack really feels empowering and suits the action just fine. Unlike many, including me, predicted, Destiny's definitely not a small game. Yes, you'll likely complete the game's story in about 10 hours, but that doesn't count strikes and patrol missions. While the latter allow you to freely explore the game's areas, while taking on rather repetitive side quests, strikes resemble something much more similar to dungeons that can be found in traditional MMORPGs, constantly providing a hard challenge by either throwing many strong enemies at the players or setting up huge boss fights that really force the players to work together in order to succeed. These strikes can be replayed in so-called playlists after completing the game's main story and get harder the more you level up. It should also be mentioned that contrary to the perception Destiny's maximum level of 30 would be easy to reach, that's actually not the case. After reaching level 20, players will have to get their hands on better gear in order to level up, which proves to be a hard task that requires grinding strikes or playing the game's PvP mode in order to earn so-called Vanguard or Crucible marks, which can then be spent on better equipment. Much like in many established MMORPGs, you can only do some of these tasks on a daily or even a weekly basis, so it's probably going to take you some time with the game's level cap. As mentioned above, there's also a PvP mode called the Crucible, which pits players against one another in classical FPS fashion, featuring modes such as Capture and Hold or Team Deathmatch, thereby extending the game's lasting appeal even more. Aside from all of the things that are already in the game, Bungie also plans to include raids in the game further down the road. Of course, all of the visual fidelity and content wouldn't matter if the core gameplay wasn't fun to begin with. So, is it any good? The answer is yes. The guns feel great, and there are lots of different enemy types in the game, all of which require their own individual tactics to take down. The 4 hostile factions in the game all feel different from one another, with the Hive, for example, heavily relying on magic and medievalish weapons, while the Fallen resemble something much closer to humans, using advanced technology to take down their enemies. Moreover, I was pleased that in most cases, the game was giving me multiple options to tackle situations involving me and said enemies and seemed far from a typical corridor shooter. Though I wish that the 3 classes that all feature their individual subclasses, Titan, Warlock and Hunter, felt a little more distinct, I do acknowledge that they have a different feel to them. The Titan, for instance, especially with the Defender subclass equipped, allows you to play a lot more defensively, while the Hunter and the Warlock both rather promote a more aggressive playstyle. However, the skill trees could be a lot more fleshed out, and weapon customization, while certainly functional, could be more expensive. It's also a shame that a game this reliant on multiplayer and teamwork doesn't have a lot of options regarding voice chat, which had my friends and me not understanding each other during firefights continuously when using the in-game voice chat. Additionally, load times can sometimes be painfully long, especially when traveling to the tower, a place you will have to visit constantly in order to accept quests and rewards. Destiny certainly is the perfect game, and it's probably far from what the hype promised it to be, but there's just something special about its beautifully crafted world and its interesting mixture of the shooter and RPG genres that makes Destiny, well, a lot of fun. While its lackluster story, The game's not sufficiently explored RPG elements and some minor flaws hold it back from being the amazing game it could be, Bungie's latest game is still a blast to play and should occupy those willing to immerse themselves in its world without expecting any kind of extremely fleshed out elements resembling a specific genre for a pretty long time. All in all, Destiny's future looks bright, and I'm excited to see what the inevitable sequel will do with this truly interesting lore.